You know what's wild? While roughly 115 million people are yelling at their TVs on Super Bowl Sunday, there's another huge group that feels absolutely nothing about it. Not fake indifference, not "I'm too cool for this." I'm talking about people who experience Super Bowl hype the way you might experience, say, professional bird calling contests. You understand that it matters to someone. You just feel zero emotional charge. And that disconnect is more interesting than most people realize. So let's break it down. First, caring about sports is not a default factory setting. Nobody is born emotionally attached to a franchise logo. What usually happens is a mix of identity, social conditioning, habit, and a little psychological magic. One piece of that magic is what psychologists call basking in reflected glory. Translation: your team wins, and your brain gives you a reward signal like you personally accomplished something, even if your contribution was eating wings on a couch. For people who don't care about the Super Bowl, watching that process can feel confusing. They're not broken. That trigger just doesn't fire the same way. There's also research in consumer psychology showing people have different optimal stimulation levels. Some nervous systems crave high emotional intensity, big swings, loud rooms, suspense, victory, defeat, drama. Other nervous systems don't read that as fun. They read it as overload. So when someone says, "I don't really care about the game," they might not be trying to be edgy. They may simply have a lower threshold for high-intensity environments. A game that feels electric to one person can feel mentally expensive to someone else. Now, let's go deeper, because this part matters. Humans are tribal creatures. We form groups, we signal belonging, we defend our side. Sports are one of the cleanest modern expressions of that old in-group versus out-group instinct. We won. They lost. The emotional structure is ancient. The branding is modern. But not everyone binds to sports tribes with the same force. Some people get that same belonging need met through music scenes, creative communities, gaming clans, book circles, faith groups, coding forums, or niche internet worlds about very specific hobbies. They're not anti-community. They're just plugged into a different one. Another useful lens here is locus of control. Some people naturally invest emotion in events they can influence directly. If they put in effort, they want visible impact. Super Bowl viewing is almost the opposite: giant emotional investment, almost zero personal control. You can wear lucky socks, yell at the screen, pace during third down, run every superstition in the book, and none of that changes the play call. For many fans, that's part of the fun. The surrender is the game. For others, it feels fundamentally unsatisfying. They'd rather spend emotional energy where action creates outcome. Neither side is wrong. They're just operating with different reward logic. Now add modern life on top of all this. Most people are already overclocked. Notifications, deadlines, money stress, news fatigue, social pressure, digital noise, endless context switching. Attention is already under siege. For a lot of people, the Super Bowl isn't a relaxing event. It feels like one more demand on their nervous system. And if someone is highly sensitive, this gets amplified. Crowded party, constant shouting, bright screens, competing conversations, doorbell every 10 minutes. Music over commentary over people talking over both. For one person, peak fun. For another, 3-hour sensory marathon followed by a 2-day recovery. There's another variable people ignore: uncertainty tolerance. Sports are built on uncertainty. That's the product. You don't know what happens next, and that unpredictability creates suspense. If your brain enjoys uncertainty, suspense feels exciting. If your brain dislikes uncertainty, suspense feels like low-grade stress. So while one person says, "This is thrilling," another person experiences the exact same moment as tension with no meaningful payoff, especially when the outcome has no practical effect on their life Monday morning. That's why the game can feel less like entertainment and more like optional anxiety. Same reason some people love horror films and others avoid them entirely. Same stimulus, different nervous system response. Then we get to ritual and culture. The Super Bowl is no longer just football. It's commercials, halftime narratives, food traditions, betting chatter, group texts, social expectations, and a whole night of performative enthusiasm. If you already enjoy football, all that extra spectacle is a bonus. If you don't, the spectacle can feel like social theater you're expected to participate in anyway. That's where a weird loneliness shows up. You're in a room where everyone is emotionally synchronized around something that feels random to you. People react in unison, and you're outside the signal. It's not always boredom. Sometimes it's social alienation with snacks. And yes, sometimes the answer is much simpler: preference. Not every difference needs a diagnostic label. Some people just don't like football. The same way some people hate cilantro, avoid roller coasters, skip true crime, or never understood the appeal of techno at 2 a.m. No trauma. No deep theory. No personality flaw. Just taste. That person might be fully obsessed with Formula One strategy, Olympic biathlon, chess tournaments, or documentaries about deep-sea ecosystems. Human attention is selective. That's normal. In fact, the expectation that everyone should care about one event is stranger than opting out of it. What's most revealing is how uncomfortable this makes some people. Say, "I'm not into the Super Bowl," and sometimes the reaction is way bigger than the statement. It can sound to them like criticism, not difference. Because for many fans, this isn't only a game. It's memory, family ritual, identity, place, and belonging. Rejecting the event can be interpreted as rejecting the social meaning wrapped around it. That reaction tells you the real story. The argument is rarely about football itself. It's about what the game represents. So, if you don't care about the Super Bowl, there's probably not one single reason. It's usually a blend. Your stimulation threshold may run lower. Your sense of community may live in other spaces. You may prefer investing in things you can control. You may find heavy unpredictability stressful rather than fun. You may dislike sensory overload. Or you may simply find football boring. Full stop. All of those are valid. And if you love the Super Bowl, that's valid too. A healthy culture doesn't require uniform taste. It requires room for different wiring. One giant group can be emotionally all in on Sunday night, while another giant group is happily doing anything else on Earth, and both groups can be completely normal. That's not a cultural failure. That's a functioning society. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more psychology breakdowns like this.